From the garage that sparked a global self-care movement, welcome to the Human Garage Experience, a podcast where we have unfiltered conversations in self-healing, consciousness, and optimizing your life with fascinating individuals changing the status quo. I'm your host, Jason Van Blerk, and I'm honored to have you here. This is a friend of ours, actually, who knows this guy.
It smells really nice.
And
you're getting me into oils.
Well, I stopped using like shampoo, deodorant, all that kind of stuff. Like 4 or 5 years ago. And people aren't running away from me because I smell bad. So clearly there was some marketing agendas to get everybody to use products, making them believe that they're dirty and they smell bad.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what if I just challenge this? What if I just don't use anything? Am I going to die? Like, are people going to run away from me? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
And so what I learned is that it's all just, we fear that we're dirty and then we smell and that there's a social impact to it. And so we buy these products, we put unnecessary things on our body and then our body has to clean it out. And people smell you differently too, right? Because there's pheromones when I smell a person, I get so much information. Now, when I smell people, I get blasted with like synthetic chemicals that I'm like, I don't even want to go close to them because it smells so strong. And Mexico is one of those places, like people just bathe in perfumes and colognes. I can smell them when they're walking on our property, like 50 feet away. Yeah. And so I can tell, because I'm now aware of it, how it impacts my ability to connect with somebody. Because I'm not really smelling them, I'm smelling this synthetic material. And there's one of the things that we were talking about a little while ago is like when you shake someone's hand, you sniff your fingers. You unconsciously put your hand somewhere in this area so that you smell the information of that person. And we do it super unconsciously. And
just imagine me coming back from the gym. I'm like, what are you smelling?
Yeah. Yeah. And we do it unconsciously. And when someone walks past me in the street, I notice my body goes to breathe about 1 to 2 seconds after to smell the information that was left behind them. Yeah. And now, depending where I am in the world, if I'm in Mexico, I actually hold my breath so that I don't breathe in all the synthetic chemicals. And in other situations, like here, it's not so bad in Bali.
Here's not so bad.
I haven't hugged too many people and been left with like their imprint, you know? And so playing around with like cleaning my body and the smells and stuff has been an experiment recently.
Is it good for you?
It is an experiment. No, but it's like a lot of times I can know like, oh, your emotions change because his smell change.
No way.
Like, when he's in certain emotions, he smells different.
So when he's feeling love, he puts this one on and you know that's...
No, but like the way his breath smell is different. The way his sweat smell is different. Depending also what he ate. No, but emotionally it changes a lot. Wow. Like when he's stressed or angry or in fear or something, the smell is completely different.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes in classes, like when there's a lot of release happening, the smell changes. Like you're at that point.
Yeah.
Where everybody's like dropping off their things because the smell is so particular of emotions. Like in a woman, like the cycle, it's so different, the smell also. Like I know when I'm about to like ovulate or something just because of the smell.
Yeah.
That you can notice, no? So it tells you a lot.
And she said to me, yesterday or 2 days ago, I'm going to do the experiment of not using anything for a little while, but not while you're around.
Yeah, like, now that I'm going away for a month, I'm going to try when you're far away.
Yeah.
No, do it. I reckon that'd be awesome. Just see if he can pick up on your smell too.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talk about it often, no? Like how when somebody's on birth control, you pick a different type of partner.
Yeah.
No, and then you go off of it, and then suddenly you don't like your partner anymore, or something because all of your hormones change.
Well, like think of the intention, right? If you're on birth control, then you're not like intentionally, like your body knows that you're not trying to be with that person, but something beyond that. Mm-hmm. But if you like go off that, then obviously you're like welcoming that kind of into your life. So of course, like everything would shift and change.
Well, we
And
see
you'd attract a different caliber, frequency type of human as well.
100%.
what we saw so if someone started dating someone while on birth control, their pheromones, they sense the smell different, so they choose a different partner. If they were together without birth control, then she goes on it and comes off, they still can manage the relationship. But if they begin the relationship with birth control, the moment she comes off, she smells him different, done. The relationship, and we used to warn.
Maybe that's why that connection 5 or 10 years ago didn't work.
Yeah.
Started on birth control, came off it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, we don't vibe anymore.
But we used to warn girls in the clinic.
Yeah, wow.
If you go off this, your relationship may change because it's quite a shock to them, right?
Relationship with self changes.
Yeah.
You know, that's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're allowing the ultimate creation, like the feminine, like that's what,
Yeah.
you know, it's the most powerful thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a lot of things, and I've worked with a lot of women, and they just tell me like that whole element of that, like just suppressing that part of themselves, and not listening to the rhythms and the cycles is so detrimental. And like we even had one business which was a nutritional cleansing business, and the first month of the first week of every month, like we've got 80% of the leaders are women, and we tried to do a Zoom call, and everyone was just like nothing would work. And I just remember, like, I sat with my buddy Tully and I was like, what's going on, man? Like, the other 3 weeks are good. This 1 week, everyone's just losing their... All the women had synced in their cycles. And also they were all getting to that, like, age of, like, around 30. So then, like, society and just, like, culture and families hitting them up, being like, where's your kids? You know, where's your partner? Where's your husband? And I remember we just looked at each other like, wow, we were not taught about any of these things. And it was like, as a man, it's like sinking into their rhythm. Like all we had to do from a business point was like, okay, no Zoom meetings in the first week of every month.
Yeah.
And it was peace and harmony. And actually flip it to be like, how can we support? Like, what do you need? And I was like, you know, like we just kind of balance the polarity a little bit. But then also like running a business, then we had a lot of women that were like very, like the unhealthy masculine traits, you know, which we all kind of have. No, it's not gender specific, but, you know, got to like build a business, make money, like, you know, take over the world type stuff. So then we had these different personalities and different cycles. And I just remember walking away from that business and I was like, I learned so much.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like in women, when you have a group, even if it's like via Zoom or something, that our periods will sync, they normally sync to the alpha of the group. Even if it's not the person holding the title, energetically, whoever is chosen by the group as the leader, their cycles will sync to that person.
Yeah, wow.
So normally, if you find out who the chosen leader by the women is, or who they see as their alpha, all of their cycles are synced to her.
And it was interesting because the women that we had at the time, a lot of them came into that business and they hadn't had that cycle for years.
Yeah.
And they started getting it again, and then they all synced in and like found rhythm.
Yeah.
Like even just talking about this is insane. Like just to realize.
The more in your masculine also that you are, for something I found out like about myself, and when I used to run very high performance masculine, but in the women's team, is that they all, including myself, had irregular cycles.
Yeah, so great.
Because you're so out of it,
stressed, like
that your body won't honor, because probably it doesn't even know, like, well, she didn't give me breakfast today, but like this and that, but she doesn't want to feel her emotions, that you literally don't go through your cycles the same way. And when I start asking people, it's like, no, I haven't had my cycle in 6 months or in 3 months, or it's super painful, or I can't come to work, because when they get it, it completely throws them off. So a lot of the women, for what I saw in multiple companies, is that to be less emotional, to have less pain, and to try in some way be like in time, they will take birth control for that reason.
Crazy.
Not get pregnant.
So it's like getting women out of their heart, into the logic, into the structure.
Because you don't feel as much when you're on birth control.
So how would you then, like, I'm just curious about this. If you would create a business for a woman, like in a flow, what would it look and feel like?
I mean, obviously it will go by the phases, because, you know, there's phases that you're more creative.
Yeah.
No, that you will incubate a little bit more. So that would be kind of like the creation process for me.
Yeah.
No, like that holding the type of food that I will put in the office, the type of smells I will put. No, maybe I will change the working hours, because even if you have them in the office, their performance is just not going to be the best.
Yeah, well.
And I will probably have different people based on cycles doing different things to get the most out of each phase, not out of the women, but out of what phase of the cycle brings as a gift, no?
Yeah.
And then the ones that need the rest, it's kind of like you're out. You're like, you go to the bench, no? And like, just take care of you. And then you have like, you
create
work.
a container to support them. Yeah, whilst they rest, and then you
like somebody to hold space for the crying and the cravings.
Structure with flow. I think this should be the podcast.
Well, structure with flow is something that we talk about so much, because we like to work in the flow, but structure is also needed in an organization, especially as a team scales.
Yeah,
right?
You need a rhythm. You need a pulse.
Yeah, you need something that everybody can move around or rely on. It's like, even since being in Bali, like we go to the beach in the morning, and we go again in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And so that rhythm, everything else can flow in between it.
Exactly.
As long as we have those two, we start to function better. And so finding ways, as we're on the road and traveling, and a lot of our team online, to create structure and flow simultaneously. And that one has been interesting. But I think one of the things for the cycles is men also have a cycle. Like, she can smell if I'm cycling.
Yeah.
But I don't know much about the men's cycle. Nobody's ever talked about it. I've never even researched it.
Yeah, well.
But I know men have a cycle. It's just not as obvious.
It's like 24 hours. Like, from what I understand with that is, like, the men's cycle is like, we can go through creation, feeling, sleeping, all the different things in a 24-hour period. And then for women, it's like a 28-day cycle, like a moon cycle, right? So it's just a little bit more elongated, and it's a little bit easier to it's a wave. Whereas we can go through that all in one day.
Yeah, well, it's like peaks.
And then we sleep, and then we do it again.
Yeah, it's like peaks versus waves.
Yeah.
But you've said to me, like, you smell very different, and there's particular times of the month.
Yeah, I think it's, for what I notice in you in particular, it depends a lot what you're going through.
Yeah. It's like what we're holding, like we're stressed, we express differently. So it's basically like, if we build up to a point of like that daily cycle, and then we kind of hit a limit or an edge, then it's like, then we shift.
Yeah.
So that's your way of being able to figure out how or where we are, and then maybe help us harmonize to bring us into a bit more flow.
Yeah. How have you found structure and flow, the balance in your life? Like, what do you do either in your companies that you've ran, and also in your personal life? Because they mirror each other. We know that, but what is your setup?
If I look over the last 10 years, it's changed so much, but like what remains, like I'll start with that, is same thing, sunrise, sunset. So like if I take the dog, Bo, for a walk in the morning, like that's my wake up, right? Headphones on, music, sometimes just like a walking meditation if I feel like it. Sometimes it's just music, sometimes it's nothing, right?
If you're feeling stuck, you're dealing with trauma, stress, and tension in your body, and you're ready for a full reset, we created the 28-Day Life Reset to teach you everything that you need to heal yourself. We have people all around the world healing themselves from Parkinson's disease, dementia, scoliosis, autoimmune, anxiety, stress, chronic health issues. We created this program. It's 15 minutes a day of fascial maneuvers every day for 28 days so that you can finally start to take care of your body again. If you want to join the 28-Day Life Reset, you can find it in the link of the show notes below.
And then sunset. So if I take him to the beach, then I know I'm in the water, I'm in nature again. And like that's kind of like my top and tail for the day. And the way that I've set it up now is basically the mornings are for me. So morning rituals, my own creations, projects that I'm personally like wanting to birth and express. So I'll work on the self-care project. Maybe I'll write at the cafe if I'm feeling that. Or maybe, I'll get curious about different forms of expression, different mediums. So I love starting with creation. That excites me. Like I can spend 2 hours and just be like lit up. I don't have to think, and then usually I'll do like gym like I did this morning, and then like ice bath, sauna. Sometimes I'll start the day with that if I feel my nervous system's a bit dysregulated from life and stress and responsibilities. And then 12 to 6, I just have Calendly. And so anyone that works with me that is paying for my time, or like they want to do podcasts or things like that, then that's kind of like 12 to 6.
Where you have
12
more
to 6 in
structure.
my blog. That's where I kind of like trade my time, you know, but it's still at a value and in a cadence that feels good for me. Like now, if I'm really like oversimplifying it, like I basically have 5 clients that I love working with, heart-centered, purpose-driven. They're in alignment, building retreats or creating experiences. And then like that's my service, that fulfills me. It doesn't matter what I really charge for that. Like I can do it for 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, but that covers cash flow. That covers life for me and like, family and everything else. And then I have one project that I work with for others. So usually that's like a retreat center or a venue. And I allocate like 10 to 20 hours to help them build their dream. So then that's like 25 of my hours for the week. And then I've got another, the rest of the time is for my own stuff, So that's
passion.
Passion. And it's like, it's nice because it's fluid. Like a Sunday and a Monday are the same to me, like I'm not really in that rhythm.
I don't even know I don't even know what day it is today.
So like I understand the world is in that rhythm, so I kind of like fall into that a little bit. And a lot of my friends laugh. They're like, "Oh, what day is it?" And I'm like, "No, like I'm genuinely like, if I call you for a surf on a Wednesday, it's the same as me messaging you for a surf on a Sunday." Yeah. But I also had to be conscious of the 95% of the world that is in that
Monday
9 to 5 thing.
Yeah.
So it's just learning both sides of it. But I think the world we're all living in now is more freelance, more, figuring out a way to use our time and to magnify the impact and figure out some reciprocation of value in terms of like networks, time, energy, money, and live in a way that is more than enough and like define success in a way that feels good, some people bigger dreams, more resources, more things. Others are very simple. So,
how did you get here? Because you live. It seems to me, from when I met you, that you live exactly the way that you want to.
Yeah.
And you've built that life that you want, but you didn't start there. You were building what you thought you wanted, and then you got to the top, and then you figured out maybe there's something different. Like, where did you even begin your business career or your wellness career to get to this point?
I like talking about it. What really landed recently is this concept of like climbing mountains and then coming back down to the valleys. So like early years, like say like 17, 18, it was like playing sport. Like that was my mountaintop, like be a professional athlete, like train, like get drafted. But then like you get to that top 1%, you realize what it takes, and then you have to make a decision, right? And that's where I actually got stress fractures in my back, and I also realized there were some people that were just way more skilled naturally than me. So like the amount of energy and time it would take for me to get to that level would have just been, it's like an uphill battle. If I was like 6'6" or like whatever, it would have been like a little bit easier.
Is this basketball, volleyball?
Australian football.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first mountaintop, like getting to like semi-professional football, breaking down, come back to the valley. So then I went and studied, and I became a physio. So I did sports science, dissected human bodies, like put DNA on a stick, like got to like see the blueprint of life like in front of me. That was crazy. And then just learned how to be a better athlete. Like, I grew up with a single mom. I didn't have my dad around, but his absence taught me presence. So it's like the food and all the things that I grew up with was like microwave dinners and Coca-Cola and, like in that industrial world, it's just what was available. So when I came into university, I was like, wow, proteins, fats, carbs, like vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, like choc milk isn't protein. Like I'm wondering why I'm drinking 2 liters of choc milk before a game and I'm dehydrated and like losing energy. So then I switched that for water and some other stuff. I start performing better. I'm like, holy shit. So the first 3 years was the bachelor's, sports science, and then the master's to do physio. So then I figured I wanted to come back and figure out how young kids, prevent young kids like me from getting injured. So I created a screening program, still running to this day, which is kind of cool. And that was like the first mountaintop. And then I was on the way to like working with AIS in Canberra. So I had like this scholarship program that I was like, I applied for and I got shortlisted, but they were like, man, you're 26, the youngest person in the program's 33, just stick around for a bit. So I looked at the next 7 years of my life and I'm like, I'm not waiting around for 7 years just
I
to
love
do this.
I love the age thing.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I was like, I'm not waiting around. So like, and also at that time I hit burnout, like working 100 hours a week as a medical professional. And like I really stood back and I was like, health professionals are sick. I'm burnt out. My patients aren't getting better. So like I had to, go spend a minute and just be like, this isn't working. And it's like that kind of like bird's eye view moment where I started just to like, first dark night of the soul where I'm like, everything I taught isn't necessarily true. So then curiosity comes. And then I partnered, with a nutritional business. So that was like, we were digital nomads in 2013, like in Bali, like running retreats. We literally just built a group on Facebook, like used our skills to help, we created community around a product, which was like Ayurvedic medicine, like intermittent fasting, which was so taboo back then.
Yeah.
People still like dieting and all this other stuff. And then we were focusing on nutrient saturation rather than restriction. And then we were like getting people to like Whole Foods, go to the farmers markets. And then we were having these cool events. We had no idea what we were doing, but this thing blew up. We called it Be Free. And then that took me on a journey for about 7 or 8 years, like 3 years of building it. And then it created the resource freedom and the time freedom for me to then live that ideal day. So when I was sitting in the four walls as a medical professional, I said, this sucks. Like, I'm not happy, I'm not healthy, I'm not connected. So I basically scripted like what my ideal day would look and feel like. I was like a beach, and I was like surfing, and I was like in a place like Bali with my dog on the scooter and a partner and a house and like enough resources to self-fund my own projects and also be in service of something bigger. And then, like 4 or 5 years later, it takes me to about 2028, like I was sitting on that beach, like I was living that lifestyle every single day. And I just remember like sitting in this moment, like money's going into my bank account every week, like passive income, residual income. And I'm sitting on the beach, and I'm like, I'm taking that document, I'm living it. And I sat there for 2 months, and I surfed my brains out. And I just got so bored. And I was like, this is good for you, man, but like, what about everyone else? So like, boom, ego death again. And in the background, I've been writing a book. So like, I'm always like the passion, but like the soul would just like keep calling me back to this thing. And it just kind of evolved. And then eventually finished writing the book because I realized that was, put 7 figures of resources into this little thing that you get $2 from Amazon for selling. Like, no one understood it. Mum's like, you could have bought 3 houses in Bali. And I was like, I can't really explain it, but I got to do it. If it's not me, who will? And then that became the foundation for turning it into a physical space and a wellness center, which I then walked away from recently. But then I realized I had the blueprint to then create more of them. So like that's from like 18 to 36, 37 now.
I'm laughing. The timelines are exactly the same as mine. Professional soccer.
Yeah.
16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Then through university.
Yeah.
Playing there. Had injuries.
Yep.
Wanted to help people who were getting injured.
Yep.
Studied the body.
Yep.
At 26,
Yep.
I woke up. That's when I started Human Garage with, and just was like, I don't believe in the system anymore.
That's probably when I started Self-Care Global. It was 2016.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it was similar journey. I feel like there are stops along the way when you're doing something to really help a lot of people that you have to go through.
You have to, dude.
Yeah.
Like, even we can talk about pain points, but it's like, when you're going through it, it's like, man, this sucks. Like I just spent 2 years building a physical space and then walk away from it, and I'm just like, people are like, what are you doing, man? Like you should do the lawyers, you should do all these things. And I'm like, I've got mentors in my field. They're like, if you make that decision, 2 years of your life will disappear. What's more valuable? And I'm like, let's just go do it again. Just like take the lesson of like alignment and and just build forwards, but to like give my younger self that wisdom and knowledge when he's in the thick of it. It's crazy. You have to be like driven by something else. You have to know your values. You have to know like your character. You have to have good people around you to be sounding boards. You have to have direction,
I think that's a key point that you just said. Like when you're going through all of those things, if you don't know your values, like your own personal core values, the decisions, especially when it comes to like money or about money.
Yeah.
Or, you know, when you're in an age that you just want to belong.
Yeah.
You end up like, or you could end up selling yourself, literally, to be accepted, to belong, or for money.
You sell your soul.
That's the same thing.
And the crazy thing is when you sell your soul, like you make less money because like if you operate from here and here, it's like it's an infinite game.
Yep.
You know, like anything is possible. And it's so much like I've sat on boats that are probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't need to own the boat. I just had to have trust with the person that was there. I don't even know how I got invited, but I was there to serve in a certain way. And it's like, so like this infinite resources is like, is available to everyone.
Yeah, they're always there. It's like the candies. Well, maybe you don't know what that is, but like inside a piñata.
Yeah.
No, like when you break them, all of the candies go there, and they're there to just be picked up if you want to.
Yeah.
And you can choose the ones you like and the ones you don't like, and you can trade them with other kids, and like they're just available. It's like little gifts.
Have you heard that concept of like Ubuntu?
I've heard of it. Yeah, but go ahead, share.
I freaking love it. It's like, even like writing the book, like you get to this distillation of something that's been in culture for like hundreds, thousands of years. And like the concept is basically, and I'm sure people have heard of it, but it's like, I can't win at the expense of others. Like if I win and you lose, then how is that winning? So it's like, there's a story of like these kids like lining up to basically run towards a lolly bag, and they film it. And like the first kid like basically goes to run, but they stop and they hold hands and then they run together and then they share all the candy. And like the guy that was witnessing this is like why did you share it? You could have had it all for yourself. And he's like, what's the fun in that? You know, like if I've got candy and he or she doesn't, then like that's not.
You don't get to share the experience.
You don't get to share the experience.
It's like you go on vacation on your own.
If you're a coach or a practitioner and you're looking to better serve your clients using fascia maneuvers, we've created a coach program that teaches you how to coach group classes and work with your clients one-on-one. When I was a coach and a practitioner, I was burning out my hands, I was helping other people, and I was actually building a little bit of resentment because I was helping them and I wasn't okay. Fascial maneuvers became a way for me to help myself, but also help empower my clients to feel better in their bodies using less of my energy, my hands, my body, and I was getting better results from it. So if you want to learn how to become a fascial maneuvers coach, you can find the link in the show notes below. We'll see you there.
Well, and this comes back to this thing of like climbing mountaintops and coming back to valleys. Like I've climbed the mountaintop.
And it's very lonely.
I've seen the view and I'm like, awesome, did it again. And then you look at it like, oh, it's the same fucking thing. And then you go down and then you do it again. And it's like, and it was a different like mountaintop. Like the first time was like status, you know, like get the degrees. The next one was like, well, the first one was like sport and then status. And then the next one is like business and like that 7-figure thing. And I get there and I'm like bored. And then you come back and like you actually like stand on the mountaintop with like fulfillment, you know, and it's just like, but again, if you're standing there alone, like, you know, like there's nothing to it. So like when I launched the book, I went home to the place that I launched the idea. And I'm sitting there like mom and friends and family that I thought had disappeared and given up on me like 8 years, you know, like beforehand. But they were the same people that were at the first event were at the launch event.
Yeah.
Just like cheering me on. And like even talking about that now gives me goosebumps because like that feeling, like that's what it was for. And now like anything from that is a bonus, you know, because we get to share the view, share the experience.
Yeah. Like I think like for me, you know, having so many success, let's say, or so many climb mountains. In most of them, since I went through the process alone, because it was very like a lone sport kind of thing, no? Like I wasn't in the sports with a team. I was in dancing
it's
where you know, when you dance alone, where you are like in Cirque du Soleil or like these kind of things. And like you get to this peak, you're in the top of the world, literally. You get up and you want to share and like you turn around and it's like, and no, it's so hard because people can't even relate to it.
Yeah.
Because it's like they cannot understand the effort, the dream, the, you know, the waking ups, the everything that is the accumulation to get there.
Yeah.
That like that like celebration for me in all of these peaks was like, now what?
But this is the cool thing. It's like, I want to sit there in 10 years' time and look back at this video and be like, you know, a bit like the first episodes of, you know, Joe Rogan or like, you know, Kill Tony. Like they're sitting in this little somewhere.
Sweating.
And just like sweating, like just come back from the gym, dogs there. But it's real. It's authentic, you know. But like there's a genuine thing where like from when I met you guys, I'm like, you got a beautiful message. I want to see you win. I want to see like whatever the message or the frequency is, like we're talking about the same thing just through a different avenue. So it's like, and this is when I think we chatted, I was like for me, everything going forwards is like collaboration and co-creation, because I'm like, I can't do this alone. And like the fact that I was even taught that I was meant to, like there's certain parts of the journey that we have to do like inwardly to like, you know, mind, heart, soul, and then like shape reality, unravel some things, you know, parents, society, culture, intergenerational stuff. And it's like, once we kind of like clear that, we're like, all right, I'm aware of that. Then it's back to the essence, you know? And it's like, if the vision is similar, like we want everyone to win. I want my kids to grow up in a world that I'm proud to hand over, that we're proud to hand over, you know? So it's like, whether it's development of like people cutting down trees or people creating products that poison the planet, or whether it's fascia, or whether it's like a book around reminding people they don't need to be fixed, all these things are in the same flow for me, you know?
Yeah. I'm sitting with what you were just saying. Like, even though I was on a team, everybody's competing for your position. So winning the game was less important than getting the next contract.
100%.
Yeah.
So it always felt lonely, even in a team sport, because that guy next to you is trying to take your spot, and this league that we're in is not the end result. And so it also felt like super lonely doing that.
But that's the finite game.
Yeah.
That's like that's the Simon Sinek thing as
100%.
well.
It's the finite versus the infinite. It's not about winning the game. It's to perpetuate and stay as long as you can in the game. You don't win the game of life. You don't win the game of business.
But this is the crazy thing. Like this is like, I love dissolving the illusion of separation. Like that is like everything that I come back to. I'm like, anything that can dissolve that separation is what I'm down for. And like I even see this in relationships where like partners start competing against each other. And it's like, and then you're like in a business, like you're competing against each other. And it's like the only way you trump that is you have a common vision and common values and like impact. And then you create this like expanding pie mentality where everyone can win. You put in more energy, more effort, and then you figure out your value and you learn to communicate that. And you just, everybody wins, man.
So how do you dissolve the illusion of separation? How do you do it?
How do I do it? How do I continually do it every single day? Being human, I just have to remember like the deeper, like that whisper, that little soul's purpose, you know. Heart is expansive, knows love. That's it. You know, there's no boundaries for that. It's just feelings, emotions are just energy and motion that flows. Soul is like, it's a straight line for me. It doesn't see any separation between me, dog, animals, nature, anything, right? The mind is the thing that I have to control. That's the thing that comes up with a construct or a story or a narrative or an us versus them mentality or whatever. And one, like a beautiful visualization I have when I meditate is like, I imagine myself like as a kid, like standing on the moon, looking down at Earth, and there's no borders, there's no race, there's no religion. Like they're all human things that we created, right? And then I get him to turn around and like look out into the universe, and it's like it's expansive and endless, you know. So like that's a beautiful little thing that I have to like keep reminding myself of. But then I get into these virtual worlds, these physical worlds, like business world, Bali, competition, blah blah blah, and then I meet these people that operate that way, and you can tell because they treat you in the same way they could only hope to be true themselves. Or the ones that see the divine in you as a mirror of the divine in them, going a bit spiritual woo-woo here. Or the way they treat animals, the way they treat the wait staff, they can't do anything in return. So like that's the way that I see it, and that's what I hold myself accountable to. And if I'm not doing that, I have to check in on myself. Like, and I've had that. I've been in a cafe and I've been a bit angry, a bit tired, like, and I've just been like, to the wait staff, and I'm like, I had to check myself. I'm like, whoa, dude, no, it's not good, you know, like. That's a human like you that was once working in a cafe for $4 an hour at like Domino's pizza or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just seeing that common humanity in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And doing that jump, you know, it can be scary sometimes or misunderstood from the outside. Like going from the separation to being like a let's be all one, you know, like coming out of that world.
It's a step. Like this tattoo is like from me to we.
Mm-hmm.
And like writing the book, completely egocentric. Like it was about me sharing my message, my vision with the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a personal journey. Like that was my own hero's journey, you know. And I think we all have that. But then as soon as I finished it, I was actually writing, you know, about longevity. And I was looking at the places where people live the longest. Like the burden of chronic disease did not even exist. Like diabetes didn't exist. Like high blood pressure didn't exist. So like you can go into the blue zones. You can also look at other places like the Hunza Valley in Pakistan, cities like Hong Kong. So I realized it was these environments and places, and the commonalities was connection, community, nature, rhythm, cadence,
100%.
and also like a group of people that support each other over the lifespan. Now we haven't even talked about food. We haven't even talked about movement. Like these were the 80% of the puzzle, and which meant that someone from a low socioeconomic, a high socioeconomic, this background, this religion could all have the same outcome if they had these key elements.
Mm-hmm. The common denominators.
Yeah, and then the food we eat and how we consume, oxygen, you know, saturation, water, the way we move, like they're the things that actually get to make this human vessel alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to really have fun.
Yeah, and there was that documentary, The Blue Zones. Is that what it's called?
Butner, yeah.
Okay, so you studied the Blue Zones. I'm curious because it sounds like there was some propaganda in the way that people eat in those places. Like they said that they don't eat any meat. They don't eat any...
No, depending where. Like Italy had a bunch of meat.
No, but in the documentary...
Yeah, the one we saw. When they talk about like sardine in Italy, like it depended where. Some were like super...
I love this topic. I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, I want to go into this because I don't think that
Yeah.
they accurately represented it. Like they said, I think in Japan that they didn't eat any meat at all. One of the areas where
Yeah,
they
there
do,
was one
and it
where-
was like, okay, I mean, I haven't studied it. I haven't gone there. So tell us.
Because like this, like imagine working with a nutritional company for like 8 years and like all the constructs and this like keto and like
It's endless.
It was endless, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to food, I got so curious. And again, like I'm coming as a blank canvas, a kid that will on like my friends used to call me NND, which is like no nutritional dinners because I'd have microwave dinners. And they used to like, we're going to Rory's house, we're going to have some NNDs. And I was like, so I had to really like learn about it. And the coolest thing is like I stripped away the constructs. And like when you go into like energetics and like quantum physics and other stuff, like you start looking at things in terms of building blocks and energy, right? So I'm not looking at it as proteins, fats, carbs. I'm seeing like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, like the basic building blocks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then building from what it takes to build a human, what we're made from. And then like once you start to look at that, it's like proteins, fats, carbs, but they're all the same arrangement of almost the same elements, like chinops, right? So then you look at the food, and it's like whether it comes from the soil to a plant to the animal that eats the plant, it's just energy just shifts from one state to another. Mm-hmm. So whether we're eating the animal with a more dense form of those building blocks, or whether it comes from a plant, or whether it comes from soil, oxygen, or like water, air, whatever, it's just it's cycling that energy through our system. So we can actually completely remove from like the dogma and the constructs, and we're like, okay, well, I need to get like X amount of water in my body every day to function, because I'm like mainly water, like 70-75% plus, right? If I live in a very humid or a desert environment, I probably need more, right? And then it's like, okay, well, I'm not holding the water, so I probably need some salts and some minerals. You know what I mean? So it's like when we learn how the body functions and what it's built from and what it can sustain itself with, then we just find the way in whatever environment we're in to like saturate every single day, you know? But because everything's polluted, industrialized, we also have to now add in things to detoxify. And the easiest way to detoxify is just put yourself in a healthy environment. You know, if you're in a like a polluted fish pond, like just go put yourself in a non-polluted fish pond and you'll feel better. It's the reason why people leave cities and come to places like Bali or little islands, and they immediately feel better because of the environment and the nature, and from that, the soil, and then the food you're eating and all these type of things. So I didn't want to get too much into the dogma of like whatever, but if you look at all of them, it's like eat mostly plants, low interference, and then if you're going to eat, protein, then just make sure it comes from conscious sources: fish, chicken, beef, like whatever. And also, like a lot of ancient cultures would just give thanks, see their humanity in the other animal. Whereas now we're kind of like, we've lost that. We've become very disconnected from food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you were studying the blue zones, it seems like there's an inconsistent eating pattern between all, because they all have different environments.
Yeah, but again, like if you step away from whether they eat legumes or they, whatever, it's relative to the environment. But it's like there's a percentage of like where it's like water and oxygen is big. They're the two main nutrients that makes our body function, right? And then in terms of saturation, like proteins, fats, carbs, vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, they have to figure out how to get that the best from their environment. And anything they can't get from their environment, they'll find through trade.
Yeah.
Or barter or whatever. And now with biohacking, it's like we're focusing on like the 1% of the 1% and we're forgetting the foundational stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you travel to different places, I notice that I crave different things.
Yeah.
No, depending like on the weather and everything. Like I see the avocados, for example, in certain regions where it's colder or it's not so humid, they're very like creamy.
Yeah.
No, but like then you go like a place like here or other places and they're like very watery.
Yeah.
No, or you have like the coconuts, or like you go to places like Cuba.
Yeah.
That they don't get anything from the outside, just what they produce.
Yeah.
And their diet, and it's like it's based on the weather.
If you're dealing with chronic inflammation, aches, pains in your joints, I use PowerKirk 30. This is a product I take literally everywhere with me. We travel the world all the time, and when you fly, your feet swell, you feel achy and pain in your body in different areas. And I'm not a big believer in using supplements to take responsibility for my entire healing process, but I do use PowerKirk 30 every once in a while when I'm feeling those aches and pains, inflamed, and I just need a little bit of help. So if you've never tried PowerKirk 30, it is the world's strongest anti-inflammatory. One capsule is equivalent to an entire bottle of another product that has curcumin in it. This is a patented product. It is the world's strongest, and I'm super excited to share it with you. You can find the link to PowerKirk 30 in the show notes below.
It's based on the type of life, and it comes out to be that.
I'm not going to have smoothie bowls when I'm sitting in the winter in Australia. Like I've tried that, like acai bowls. I'm like, I want a stew, like I want something hearty and like warm, And I think like that was the point. And again, I don't want to trigger too many people because this topic is so big. But actually, I don't mind positively disrupting and triggering. The point is to shine the light on the information and look at the end result. Where are the people living the longest with the lowest burden of chronic preventable disease? Listen to them. Okay, cool. Come back to the beginning. How's the body built? Yeah. What does it need to function every day? How can you source that within your environment from good soil in ways that doesn't harm the planet and your community and whatever? That's low interference. And it's like then in writing the book, I just shine the light on all the people that have this message. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, go chat with them. Like the people I worked with in nutritional medicine, one guy spent 40 years just studying the soil in one area. You know what I mean? So it's like, take his 40 years of experience and like that person who spent 40 years just on carbohydrates and that person who did this.
They're going to punch you if you keep doing that on the table.
It's okay.
Sorry, sound audio legend. But the point is like, there's people that got really curious about that. So my job was just to curate them, to
bring them together.
Like results-based, like cut all the bullshit. These people live the longest. Here's what they mostly do. Figure out what works for you in the context of your life and environment.
Well, I find like even the Don't Die movement, it's really funny. It's we're taking 100 supplements. We're on all these machines, and nature and movement and community and purpose and all these things you talked about. 80% of the things have nothing to do with any of that stuff that they're doing.
And, you know his recent thing where he was taking those supplements? I don't know whether this is true or not, but he actually realized that it harmed his health.
Yeah. What was that one
It
called?
didn't actually extend his life. It like sent it backwards.
I saw that. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a big one.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me because, we live in a lot of people live in a world where some of the things that they're doing in the biohacking space are good because it's supplements. Like some people don't even see the sun. So if you
said
need,
this the other day, right?
yeah, like if you don't see the sun at all, maybe it's okay to have something that supplements at least some of it for you inside. You know, you can buy a machine that does that. But
if you're in like Greenland or something.
Yeah, but if you have the sun, go out in the sun for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You absorb all the nutrients, all the light spectrums, all the energy.
Stop trying to recreate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're looking at people in the biohacking space in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
But what happens when, I mean, Dave Asprey's at the, you know, one of the older ones who's been doing it for a long time. What happens when he's 70? Like, let's wait until he's 80 or 90. Yeah. We don't know the impact of taking 100 supplements a day and doing all of these biohacking, you know, machines and techniques until we see it. So I like what you're saying, and I talk about this too, about like if we look at the longest living people in the world, they don't have any of these things that they're doing in the biohacking space today. And so why don't we just use them as the example? Because they're the only ones who've lived it.
I realized like a big part of my role, you know, I'm a dude sitting with a hat on a chair, just come to the gym with a shirt on, right? It's just the reality of the situation, talking about very complex topics. But what I like are really curious about with all of this is like, I don't want to, again, create separation between us and them. It's just really figuring out like, where is it already available? You know, because if like what we focus on expands. If I'm focused on the problem, I'm just going to go make that bigger.
Yeah, no.
And it's like we did a biohacking summit recently, and like everyone got so lost in the branches about the 1% of the 1%. And ultimately, most people are trying to sell their own products, right? And I was sitting there, and I was like, what am I going to talk about with biohacking? I was like, nature, stillness, breath, the 80%. I was like, let's get you out of those little boxes and off the phone. Like for every 2 hours you spend in the virtual world, your compassion, your empathy goes down, your apathy goes up. You become more disconnected. Okay, let's fix that first. How do we do that? We don't have to like set all these like things on your phone. We just have to get you excited to go to the beach in the morning rather than pick up your phone and scroll through social media. Mm-hmm. The feeling and experience of that needs to be better than the feeling and experience of that. And then you will naturally do that. It's just a remembering and a reminding, you know, and then community and connection. Cool. Sitting in a villa by yourself, working in a cubicle by yourself, working online remotely by yourself. Epic. How does it feel to sit at a table and like get whiteboards out with friends and like build businesses like they did in San Fran, like we did in the pandemic? Like, how does it feel just to be supported, to co-create, collaborate, and be like, wow, there's actually someone else out there that is way smarter at marketing. I'm really good at creation. This person's really good at writing. What do you know? How can you help me? How can I help you? And I was like, we had this moment in the pandemic where we were sending each other these invoices, $5,000. You invoice her $5,000, then you invoice me $5,000. And I looked at it. I was like, I literally just send you the money. You send it to her and she sent it back to me.
It's the feeling of receiving it. Yeah.
Nothing changed. Like we set our value. I was like, let's cut the bullshit. Let's just go co-create really cool stuff and have an impact in the world. And then as we do that, like a rising tide lifts all boats. And as soon as that mentality shifted, like something really special happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, you're seeing even some of my generation, 5 of them are buying a house together.
Yeah.
And they all save up, then they buy a second one.
Yeah.
And they all save up, and they buy a third one.
Yeah.
And eventually they all have their own house, which they never could have gotten if they were on their own.
Tiny homes in Australia. Like my buddies are like got big farmland now. They're leasing land to friends and like getting like buying a tiny home for like $100K. Mm-hmm. And like the beautiful house in nature, like close to the beach. Everybody wins, you know, like the landowner, the lease owner, the guys that got the house. And at any moment they can like, if they want to upgrade it and earn more money, they're earning like $300,000-$400,000 a year. They're like, yeah, why am I going to spend that on a piece of land when I could use that to actually create experiences with my kids and my family? So it's shifting, and I'm really inspired by it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's change direction a little bit. What is your process of understanding your emotions? Like, how do you handle your emotions? How do you get to know your emotions? How do you feel them? Like, what does that look like?
Well, man, that's a big journey. Like for me, emotions is like feeling. So when I like, it's not here. Yeah. So the first thing I need to do is turn this off. So like meditation, like I used to have 3-hour morning routines, journaling, writing, meditate, this, that, the other. And I found it just like got me more in my head. You know, I didn't actually solve the problem because like the more and more I started to learn about it was to get to a state of no mind. And I found that I could actually find that like by going for a surf and being present in nature, like dolphins around me, and like I'm catching that wave and it's like I'm in bliss, you know? So I was like, meditation can also be in movement with life. So how could I take meditation off the mat and into life? Mm-hmm. So that was a transition. It started on the mat. And a lot of people can jump on Spotify, get those 10-minute micro doses of, breath work, meditation, find someone that you love and just like calm down, or like turn the mind off, close the tabs. But the ultimate thing was, can I talk about plant medicine?
Yeah, go
awesome.
ahead.
So when I got called to do an ayahuasca journey, I asked her, I was like, how do I find you again? And like she just kept saying to me, nature, stillness, breath. Nature, stillness, breath. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you find me every day. Like, remember when you got the download for the book? Remember all these things. Nature, stillness, breath. And I was in nature. I was bored, and something told me to stay. And in staying in that and not getting distracted by more chaos, more this, more, she then gave me the download to actually write the book, whether it was her or whatever other source, right? So what I realized with that is like nature, stillness, breath is the easiest way to turn my mind off. And then for feelings, if I create enough space to actually feel and not be distracted, it'll happen naturally. And then I just have to but I have to actually just feel it. Actually I have to be like, okay, there are no negative or positive emotions. It's just energy in motion or stuck. And it's like the ones that are stuck, I've usually created a story about. So like I had probably the most challenging one recently was grief. So I had like 3 underlying grief processes. Mum got sick, dad got sick, partner went through like a dark night of the soul. What felt like a loss, or the impending kind of like, oh, mum's not gonna be around, dad's not gonna be around, disconnection with the relationship. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. And I'd try to like distract myself, one by being in service and like giving and being there, which kind of taught me something as a man to care for your caretakers. And then the other thing was by just keep moving forwards. So by actually moving and not being still, I didn't get to feel those processes. I felt everything else. I felt the love, I felt the stress, I felt the anger, I felt the happiness, the joy, I felt the service, but I didn't allow myself to feel that thing because I couldn't identify it because I never experienced it before. So once I actually allowed myself the space, and even recently I just took 30 days off and I was like, once a year, I'm just like disconnecting to like clean the energetic field. That's it. And I was like, in this lifestyle, I don't think we do it. Like it's every day just rolls into the next. So to intentionally just be like 30 days off social media, let the 400 WhatsApp messages become 2, just get in your rhythm. And then it's like what remains is these feelings, which most of us are scared of feeling. That's why we stay busy. That's why we keep distracting ourselves. That's why we jump to the next relationship. That's why we keep doing, because we don't want to feel something. And it's like, what's that Charlie Chaplin saying? It's like, we're feeling beings that think.
Yeah.
We're feeling beings that think. We've been taught that we're thinking beings that need to feel. So like everything I'm coming back to now is like, once I can like calm this and have peace in here, then I can feel this and I can feel the full spectrum and let it flow without stories and just like be almost like non-attached, but feel it. That's what it means to live, to be a human. And then I can hear the whisper. And when I hear the whisper, I only have to hear that once and then I'm like, I go. But it's like, I think a lot of us are like here and here, and we're not allowed to go here. And the reason the reason why things distract us from out here is because if you're a lot of human beings that are operating from here and here, man, like there is no structure, there is no 9 to 5, there is no monetary system, there is no us versus them. Like this sees interconnectedness. It doesn't see any separation. This just knows love and compassion and empathy. Like we get more and more people operating from here, then like 99% of the world's issues would slowly dissolve. Like some person would rise up somewhere and solve it everywhere in the world, But we have to kind of disconnect to reconnect, or tune out to tune in.
Yeah. One of the things that happened for us, because we're traveling so much right now, we used to be around the beach all the time.
Yeah.
Like we'd get a house by the beach. We would live by the beach. Whatever we could do, we'd be by the beach. So we could get in the ocean every single day.
Yeah.
Sunrise, sunset.
Yeah.
And we haven't had that for a while. And because we've been traveling so much and being here, like the other night, we were like, let's go down to the beach. Let's just sit on the sand.
Yeah.
Put our phones aside.
Yeah.
And just like absorb,
Yeah.
And then we jumped in the ocean. We went up to a cool little cafe. And all of a sudden, all the ideas and inspiration and information that I've been...
Right.
It's almost like if you chase the answer to things, it runs away.
Yeah.
And so then
anything, like just butterflies that run away.
they run away, everything. And so that moment where it's like, you know, reminding myself, you know, to be back in nature and in that stillness, like sometimes rest when you're on the grind or always moving feels like unproductive, right?
No,
And
bro,
then
we got to change that.
And then, yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you go into nature for 15, 30 minutes, like not a long time at all. And you get 2 hours of full-on productivity that you couldn't have tapped into, or that I couldn't have tapped into in the current state that I was in. And so why I was bringing it up is sometimes rest is the key to maximize the flow state and the potential and the downloads and the information and the inspiration.
The integration.
And the integration. It's like, it's not this process that you just do. It's something that helps you do more of what you're passionate about. And it just reminded me of that because we have been going event after event after event. And coming to Bali was kind of to be in nature again, to reset. And then I'm noticing my creativity and my inspiration and my passion start to reignite itself after you burn out. Because, you know, you burn out if you're going all the time and you don't get that rest time. So
I hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. We're gonna take a pause and we're gonna take 6 breaths together to just come back to our bodies, come back to center before we continue the episode. So you're gonna take a deep breath in through the mouth. Breathe in. Breathe in more. And exhale. Breathe in through the mouth. More. And exhale. I hope you feel reset and recharged. Let's get back into it.
we didn't burn out, but we were at a point where we needed nature, right? Which is too late. If you need it, it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can integrate it from like the get-go. I think that's where things are changing. Like when I really step back and I look at the world that I was born into, like it's almost 100 years of industrialization, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm pretty much one of the in-between generation probably with yourselves, where it's like we know of a time where the internet and social media and like iPhones didn't exist, right? So like we're that in-between generation, you know, so like we can actually remember a time
Before.
And now we're getting a generation that's born into a world where like
They don't know anything different.
like AI is just going to be for kids. They're going to be like, sick, like Siri, just write me like an essay on, fascia and biohacking for my thing tomorrow. Add in a personal story, boom, done.
They already do that.
Yeah, it's already been done, right?
Yeah, they're already doing that.
So it's like, what would have taken me 5 years, I can now do in a minute because of what's available. So the point is like, when I'm looking back at that stuff, it's like we were born into, like, if you look at the construct that was created, whether it was Henry Ford or someone else, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone decided to like structure it into 3 things. And they did that post Second World War for productivity,
Mm-hmm.
to like, for a certain agenda, right?
Yeah.
So now we're in a time where that, like we're in a golden era. We're coming into like, what is it, the Pisces, like 10,000 Aquarius, like
Aquarius
10,000
now.
years of peace or something like that. So we actually, if we believe that to be true, that we can have 10,000 years of peace, then we start to shift our biology to create that reality. And this is where things can change, but we also have to not be naive to the fact that we were essentially chickens in like a chicken coop, like living in these 4 little boxes, working, getting burnt out, getting tired, doing more, and actually not getting anywhere. So now we're like free range chickens, but we still got some parameters, and we feel guilty that we spend time in nature or go to the beach. So like that's the unwinding. And the only way that we unwind that is like someone like me, and I saw this, like me taking a month off, like I noticed everyone around me started to be like, oh shit, that like high achieving dude that like is always doing stuff, he's taking a month off. It's like, okay, that means, can I do that?
Mm-hmm.
So like by actually living it, we give other people permission to do it. By living, like by telling people I like mornings are for myself, afternoons in service of others, people are like, holy shit, that makes a lot of sense. I'm in service of myself, my family, my creations, and like my authentic purpose. and in the afternoon I'm in service of others. That rhythm feels good. I like that. You know what I mean? And you can expand it, scale it, or to whatever works.
When we arrived, like the first week, I was feeling that. I was like, I feel so wasted. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like we're at a peak right now. We have this momentum. Da, 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 da.
We talk about this, yeah.
And it was like, do I leave? Do I stay? Like, a lot of that feelings just because feeling that.
Yeah.
And then I start looking at the people and the team around me. In this case, I'm just gonna speak on my behalf. And I'm like, yeah, but maybe I'm not burnout because the level that I have built for myself of everything, of capacity for everything.
Yeah.
But I pretty much burn every single person around me. Not,
Yeah.
Because they're trying to keep up to your pace.
Exactly. That's what I mean by burning somebody. My own expectations. I have built a capacity to meet those expectations for myself.
Yeah.
And also a routine that allows me to perform and be at that level constantly. But all of the team that supports me, supports us, and the people around, not.
But now you get it.
Exactly.
Right?
So I start seeing like the people that I burned by accident, not by accident, by setting an example at that level, that it took 30 seconds for that feeling to be like out to the window, because suddenly it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't about me anymore. It was about the we.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like this is a collective effort. Yes, I have the ability or honor or to be leading it, but I'm not going alone.
Exactly.
No, and then it literally took 30 seconds to be like, okay, bad idea. I'm gonna rest. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna have fun.
Yeah.
And the dynamic of the team, everybody start like bringing things out, and like everything starts shifting. No,
right.
But it's just a very funny way of breaking beliefs.
It's like breathing. It's like you breathe in, you breathe out. Like I had 3 years of building a business. I gave myself 3 years of not building a business. I had like a couple of years of doing another thing, and I'm happy to have another couple of years of just like creating and whatever. If I have a week of being like, like locked in up until like 3 a.m., like I run a retreat for 2 weeks, I'm okay having a week, like just putting the laptop down and like not doing that, you know what I mean? And just like surfing and eating banana pancakes. And it's like, I had to like give myself a permission slip to do that. And I was also like, I had to take responsibility, because when you do have the capacity, and this is the thing I have to know in my own journey, like I grew up in a certain environment.
Of course.
I was working at Domino's when I was 13. I was running the store by 16. I was like out mowing lawns. So like a lot of people haven't even done that by the time they're 25. So I had to realize, I'm like, holy shit, that's not normal. I'm like leading a team, like we had about 400 athletes, and it's like, and then it's like, then I'm traveling in 50 countries, and I had to like look at it and go, like, we're not normal, but we were given the pressure to create the change. So now it's like when I'm leading others, and like when I wrote the book, I had to go back to the 6-year-old version of me and be like, what does he need to know? What does she need to know?
Yeah.
And it's like nature, stillness, breath, community, connection, da, 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 da. And then it's like, and then from that foundation, you can grow sustainably. But your roots have to go as deep as like the branches, like spread out. And also, some people just want to be little frangipani. Not everyone wants to be like a big mighty oak tree or create a forest. It's like different definitions of success and impact.
They're all needed.
They're all needed.
To have a forest.
Well, you need all the parts for the garden. Yeah.
Otherwise, you just have a bunch of the same trees that don't really create an ecosystem, and things aren't. It's a farm. It's not really an ecosystem.
Oh, you have that concrete jungle with a palm tree in the middle, and you're like, the tree looks like the biggest eyesore ever.
Yeah. So what of the things that we haven't touched on today, is there anything that you feel is a really powerful message that people need to hear from your book specifically? Because that's a distillation of everything that you've learned up until the point that you wrote it.
Yeah.
Something that stands out.
Oh, man, like when I keep coming back to it, it's just reminding people that they don't need to be fixed. And like anything around you that tries to convince you that you need to be fixed, like I'm just going to sit there and be like, every second, like 50 million cells in your body have just regenerated. Like, it is the most powerful thing in the world. 50 million seconds, right? So all we need to do is like not interfere with that, like take out anything that interferes with that process, including people, thoughts, ideas, constructs, and do whatever we can just to nourish that every single day. If it means like changing environment, if you're like a plant in a really challenging environment, like you're trying to push through the pavement of a city, like we have the choice where we can, like we can go to Bali, we can go to other places in the world which the soil is richer, the people, the community is richer. And yes, you will blossom and bloom in the way that nature intended. We don't have to stay stuck in families, in houses, in communities, jobs, right? And a lot of people aren't going to like me saying that, but if you are really working in the best interest of the people that you care about, like my parents, even like, she's like, when are you coming home? I'm like, this is home, like this is where I personally have flourished. I love the ocean. I love the culture. I love, like the Chang Sari in Bali and like the culture of karma, and everybody gives and like there's no expectation of receiving anything in return. I'm like, that's a culture and a frequency that works for my heart and soul. For someone else, it might be a city. And the cool thing is like I can still have home, and really honor that where I grew, but I can live here. I can go to cities like Dubai or Singapore or London or LA or wherever, and I can find a flow that works for me. Someone might find that the city is where they really blossom and bloom. And then they come to places like this for 2 or 3 months just to get that nature stillness and breath. So it's like, I think we're creating something now where the world is going to be a bit more fluid and less rigid. And if like, I can just remind people that they don't need to be fixed, and to show them and remind them where the medicines are without telling them what to do, like teaching it through a story, maybe through a podcast or whatever, and just giving them something that can guide them, whether they're in the depths of like dis-ease or dysfunction, whatever label you want to give it, there's a way out of it. There's a way to get your body back to harmony. And then from harmony, you got a foundation to express and create and do what we're here to do.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
What was the name of your book, just in case people want to find it?
Self-care, lifestyle medicine for the people.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll put it in the notes if
Yeah.
anybody wants to check it out. I mean, I was I don't know if we were recording when I was talking about it, but we were scanning over it in the coffee shop, and it was very simply written, and there was a lot of really good information in there that aligns even with our belief systems. So I'm excited to dive more into it and have deeper conversations, because this is just the surface, I know.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's just a curation of consciousness. It's like my job is just to, like, I had the opportunity to travel, to free my time and location, to sit in the rooms with like the Lisa Nichols and the Tony Robbins, the Neuro Orthopedic Institute. So like for whatever reason, my journey took me there. So then I was like, what do I do with this? Okay, cool. I just need to give that to the everyday person and for the younger version of myself. So there's a framework. And then what you do with that, like, go have fun. Like, that's essentially like, that's my purpose. And then what happens from there, like you might take it, someone else might take it, and then take pieces of it and create something else. Same thing I've done with Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, sat on my table for like 3 years. And that concept, just like the reminder that I could work 4 hours a week in the same way this book reminds you that you don't need to be fixed, it shifts something. And then one day you're like, oh, I figured out how to do that. Or I got the reminder, I got the embodiment, So just want to say thank you as well.
Yeah, appreciate having you today. Thanks for the conversation.
Too.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode with us today. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want to support our mission of inspiring 1 billion people to heal themselves, make sure to subscribe below so that you get notified the next time we launch an episode. Your support makes a difference, and we really appreciate it.